It is time to touch our bags and drop our sacks on this edition of the Kansas City Chiefs Report. It is mailbag time. You got questions. You're in luck because I got answers. I've already taken a bit of a sneak peek at some of the mailbag questions. You guys are asking about some potential trades involving Kayvon Thibodeaux. Also, Michael Mayer has come up. We'll answer all of those here in just a bit. Let's start with this $5 super chat from Gingerbread Man. He's a real one. He's a Seahawks fan, and yet he's still supporting us here on the Chiefs Report. You got to love that. Shout out Gingerbread Man. Spam Gingerbread Man in the comments. Could this be a regression year after getting your PP smacked in the Super Bowl? It's a very fair question to ask. I think a lot of people were wondering when the Chiefs lost the Philadelphia Eagles where this team was going to go from here, especially with all the players they had on expiring contracts and the lack of salary cap space. But Brett Veach made it work, and this team is better than what they were a season ago. Now, some of the teams around them have also gotten better as well, but I would be surprised, barring a catastrophic injury to like a Patrick Mahomes or a Chris Jones or something like that, this team is going to be better, and they're going to be the Super Bowl favorites in 2025. And you guys know I'm always honest with you. We keep it 100 around here. I'm not saying this just to make any of you all feel better. I have every reason to think that this Kansas City Chiefs team is here to compete at the highest level and that they can go out there and win the Super Bowl again. No, this is not going to be a regression year for the Chiefs. Folks, want to make sure not only you're subscribed, but you're also a part of the Noti Gang. Those are the folks that have their notifications turned on. They're the first to know when we have new content here on the channel, from our daily news and rumors to the live shows we do on Tuesdays. This is where we answer the questions you guys are submitting to us, and we react to them in real time. So maybe you want to be a part of our next mailbag segment next Tuesday. Well, subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you're alerted when we have new content here on the channel. Doesn't cost you a thing, 100% free. Let's get at least 20 subs and 20 people to join the Noti Gang. YouTube.com/ChiefsTV to subscribe now. Turn on those notifications. If you're part of the Noti Gang, spam Noti Gang in the comments section, and we'll continue with today's show. Casey fans, our best writes in, could the Chiefs trade for Kayvon Thibodeaux of the New York Football Giants? So, funny enough, I was asking in front of the show Marshall Green, who hosts our Giants channel, what's the likelihood that the Giants trade Kayvon? And from what Marsh was telling me, he doesn't seem to think it's too likely because they've picked up his fifth-year option, and they did so before the draft, although there were some rumblings that he was being shopped. I think if you're the Giants, they're kind of wanting to see what they have with Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon and Abdul Carter, who they just drafted there. I think it's unlikely that the Giants move on from Kayvon. But if they do, I think the Chiefs should come running to the phone at the opportunity here. I think he had a very good season in 2023. I also would argue that he hasn't been put in the best of situations to succeed. I know that there's been some character concerns, but as we've said before, when you come to Kansas City, you know that you got to be all in, and then you got to put your ego aside. And if Kayvon is willing to do that, I think he could compete at a high level, and he could be very successful here. If they are willing to trade him, by all means, they should give the New York Giants a call. Should the Chiefs trade for Kayvon Thibodeaux? It's our pinned comment today. Your chance to be the GM. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in. Let us know what you think. Type T for trade, P for pass. Tell me in the comments section below. Mike says, how many UDFAs make the roster? Oof. It's not looking great for the UDFAs. I can tell you that much right now, that the UDFAs are in a tough spot when it comes to their chances at making the roster for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Esa Pohl, he might have the best chance playing on the offensive line out of Washington State. He's a name I would keep an eye on. But honestly, that might be it. It doesn't look good. And that's fine. That means the Chiefs have quality players on the roster. They shouldn't have to be relying on UDFAs to fill up their final roster spots. Now, with that said, you could have a number of them make the practice squad. I think another name, I almost forgot about him, Jake Brenningstool, the tight end from Clemson. I think there's a pretty decent chance he could be your number 4 tight end. But outside of Pohl and Brenningstool, it's going to be very tough for any UDFAs to make the roster. Maybe 1, maybe 2, and that's fine if you're the Kansas City Chiefs as far as that goes. And in the case of Pohl and Brenningstool, those are guys that should have been drafted, that should have been picked. So if they make the roster, more power to them. It's not an indictment on your talent level if those guys make it. Now, more than that, you might actually be concerned. But 1 or 2, I think, have a realistic chance at this point. And maybe they don't make the roster initially. Maybe they start on the practice squad and get a promotion potentially down the line. Poor Chiefs-aholic. Sad news for Chiefs-aholic this week. 34 years in prison. And to my knowledge, there's no parole as well for Chiefs-aholic. The guy just wanted to see his favorite team play. I mean, some of us are just built different, you know? Chiefs-aholic, I will say, why'd you have to do it in my hometown of Tulsa? All right? Look, my mother, she went to high school in Sand Springs, Oklahoma. Shout out Sand Springs, Charles Page High School. And she graduated with a judge that makes a lot of these decisions in Oklahoma of how long people go to jail and all this. Her friend was the one who ultimately sentenced Joe Exotic to his long sentencing, and he's still not out, and he's been trying to get a pardon and all that. I'll say this, Chiefs-aholic, you don't want to be hanging out in an Oklahoma prison. It's not a good place to be. So, Chiefs-aholic, it was a good run. I hope you enjoyed it while you last. When Chiefs-aholic eventually does get out of prison, maybe he's going to bang the drum to open up a game and come back with a vengeance. Hopefully nobody gets robbed again, but we'll see. So, aside from that, the question that poor Chiefs-aholic writes in, could Kansas City trade for Michael Mayer? I think Michael Mayer is better than what his numbers have shown. And last year, he was kind of put in a tough spot because Brock Bowers, a generational tight end, showed up and took a lot of reps away from him. I have not given up on Michael Mayer yet. I still think he's got potential to be a solid tight end in this league. I find it to be hard-pressed, though, that the Raiders would want to do business with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, maybe they've given up on Mayer, and they're like, hey, we'll take the Chiefs draft pick away, a 6th or 7th round pick. But if they're willing to do business, I would be all ears on bringing Michael Mayer in and adding depth to the tight end spot. But it's not something you have to do. I know everybody's talked about preparing for the long-term future after Kelce and all that at the tight end spot. But you still got Kelce right now. You got Noah Gray there. Jared Wiley, I think, has a chance to be really good. We mentioned Brenningstool earlier. You're fine for the tight end spot for now. It's the future that you're concerned about. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I wouldn't say that it's very likely that they trade for him either. Should the Chiefs trade for Michael Mayer? Your chance to sound off in the comment section. Give us your thoughts. Type Y for yes, in for no. Chime in. Tell me what you think. Tony, you're in the mailbag. Do not yell at me in my DMs. Got it? Okay. Tyler, I'm excited about this year's schedule. We got another Christmas Day game versus Denver week 1 versus the Chargers. I'm excited. Tony, I'm glad you're excited. I'm not too thrilled about having to work on Christmas night. That's not ideal, but I understand the Chiefs want to play all the marquee games, the international games, the holiday games. They want to start this Christmas tradition. I don't blame them at all from the Chiefs' perspective of wanting to play on Christmas and wanting to play internationally. Internationally, I think that it works out pretty well that you're playing the LA Chargers and not having to sacrifice a home game. I am concerned about the turf situation in Brazil. We've seen in the past that the field conditions are not great for these international games, so hopefully nobody breaks an ankle or anything like that. But I like the Chargers game in Brazil. The Christmas Day game, selfishly, I wish I didn't have to work, but I think it's a great tradition. And if you're going to play on Christmas, you'd rather play the primetime game. That way you can get all your Christmas activities out of the way on Christmas Eve and Christmas morning and all that. So I think it's a good spot for the Kansas City Chiefs. Richard writes in. Richard, do they call you Dick? with all of our offseason acquisitions on offense and defense, I think we'll be top 5 in both categories. What are your thoughts? Not impossible. I would be surprised if they were in both, because usually to be top 5 in one of them, you got to give up something on the other. If the offense is scoring 35 and 40 points a game, which would be great, that probably means they're going to be giving up 20, 25, 30 points a game. So that doesn't really work. You got to play complementary football to be successful at your best. I think having a top 5 offense is more likely than having a top 5 defense, but it's not impossible. But I think just with the schematics of how it all would come together, it would be difficult. But I think both sides of the ball are going to be really good. Last question. Loren writes in, #Chiefs. Does this year's roster maybe have what it takes to bring back the explosiveness in plays like a few years ago? So, twofold answer on this, Loren. Number one, it's not necessarily about the roster, okay? Because defenses have adjusted. They've played the 2 and 3 high safeties to try to take away the vertical passing game so they don't get beat over the top by Patrick Mahomes. But part of it also had to do with that your receiving core wasn't as good the last few years since you moved on from Tyreek Hill. So my answer to that, Loren, is yes, you should see more of the vertical passing game, but I wouldn't expect it to be as much as it was in the Tyreek Hill era, but it will be more than what you've seen lately. I think that's a reasonable expectation. For continuing Chiefs coverage, subscribe now to the Kansas City Chiefs Report. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.